Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of
Ghetto.
My name is Hans
I'm Edward.
and we're your hosts for now and forevermore.
Or until we vanish into the ether or something.
Welcome to episode 25 of Ghetto, your favorite variety podcast which talks about gaming, entertainment, technology and lifestyle, all encompassed within a wonderful geek wrapping.
A wonderful and colorful geek wrapping.
Yes, of course, because, colors are awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome, everybody. We hope you enjoyed episode 24. We're now at 25, and that means that we are at our quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
When it comes to...
Just about.
And crisis is legitimately a good way of explaining it. So... for the more astute amongst you from episode 24, you'll know, or rather, if you paid attention to our socials, we had a lot of issues in terms of sound, volume, up and down, and I just want to speak about that just for a few moments. Essentially, we ran into a really strange problem where, because we record audio and video separately. Although, we record audio and video together in certain files, but then also separately. What was happening initially is that by doing them separately is that sometimes the audio would go out of sync for the video. And we found out that that's because of frame rates and so on and so forth. So by combining them into one, it just makes life a lot easier from an editing perspective. Now, we did that for last week's episode for the first time. And it was a train smash.
Yeah, it was bad.
For whatever reason, and we're assuming that somehow there was some mild corruption in the video files, during the editing workflow, which I now use Final Cut. I was using GarageBand when we were audio only, but now that we're video, I actually end up editing the video first and then exporting the audio. It just didn't want to work. Well, there were consistent issues in the program and audio glitches to the point where eventually we exported the complete episode 24, uploaded it to our podcast provider, and then found out about half an hour later that there were actually dead segments.
Yeah, literally like minutes just not there.
Just dead air. So I then spent about 2 hours recompiling audio files and so on and so forth and getting it all together. And I have to tell all of you this because you must understand that Ghetto is a labor of unpaid love.
Yeah, for now, until we get that sponsor.
Boo-boo. Okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and how this week we're hoping we won't have those issues again. But we're doing our best. It is challenging when we're not at the same place to record with one single set of hardware. So we obviously use video files and we have to share them and so on and so forth. But for those of you who have been sticking with us and for those of you who do give us good feedback, y'all know who you are. I'm not giving you a shout out this week. Just want to say thank you. So welcome to episode 25 of Ghetto, our quarter life crisis. We have some good news. Eduardo and his Leafy are engaged.
And my Leafy. Yeah, I would say almost 10 years
congratulations
time.
To you both.
Thank you. It's been a while. She's been getting frustrated.
Yeah,
and
as you said, it's only been about a decade.
Yeah, so it was about time.
Please, can we not wait another decade for the wedding? I would like it if you could have it sooner rather than later. And I know I'm just inserting myself into your life now, but...
Well, no, I'm kidding. I don't know. We're thinking maybe next year even. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, whether it's next year or later than that, we'll keep you, our listeners, informed.
Yeah. Because y'all got to know everything.
Yeah, because y'all got to know what's happening in our lives. Now, with that in mind, if you remember from episode 24, I did mention how I was a little bit flu-ish. Well, things are better, but also haven't changed. So I will most likely periodically throughout this episode still sniffle. And if I have to cough, I will do my best to mute the audio. And I do apologize in advance.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not too bad for your sake.
Yeah. For the listeners, for our listeners and the audio.
Well, I was thinking for your editing sake.
Oh, you mean for me?
Yeah.
That too, because when I speak, it actually makes it worse. So,
yeah.
Y'all be welcome. Okay. Okay. So, as we've been doing for most recent episodes, we are speaking about what's going on in terms of reviews and previews. And this week we have some cool topics to talk about. Yeah. We're going to start off with ergonomic chairs. Now, for those of you who may not know, I've been using a dining room chair for almost 2 years to sit on for all my working endeavors and scenarios, and it hasn't been pleasurable. Sitting for a meal for 45 minutes is okay, but when you're sitting in a chair for upwards of 8-9 hours a day, it can be a little bit intense. Yeah. So I started saving over a year and a half ago for an ergonomic chair. And in that time, I also did a lot of research. And I discovered that Herman Miller was one of the better brands that I wanted to get. And they were available in South Africa. So I bought a Herman Miller COSM. And it is probably the most phenomenal chair I've ever used in my life. I'm actually sitting in it right now. I don't know if you can see a little bit of it. Oh, well, for those of you who are watching the video.
Yeah, not the ones listening.
Yeah, actually, for those of you who are listening, I will link to my video review on YouTube in the show notes. So by all means, check it out if ergonomic chairs are your thing. But yeah, it's a phenomenal chair. Yes, it's very expensive, especially from a South African perspective. And I just want to set the record straight, because when I tweeted about this about a week ago, some people insinuated that I got a free upgrade for this chair because of what I do. Mm-hmm. And a part of me doesn't even feel like I should justify these insinuations, but I'm going to anyway, because I need people to understand that myself and Edward and Vamers have a very, very strong set of ethical groundwork.
Yeah.
Or code. There's a strong ethics code that we actually abide to. And we actually have a transparency policy that is publicly available on Vamers.com. So, for people to insinuate otherwise is actually rather insulting. Anyway, with that in mind, I bought the chair with my own hard-earned money, which I saved for. And the free upgrade was really just a awesome positive that came my way because they made the mistake. They told me they had stock of the chair that I initially ordered, which was without the adjustable armrests. And they then called to tell me that they were very sorry about that. They didn't have it. So they gave me the adjustable ones to make up for it, rather than disappointing me as a customer and cancelling my order. Yeah, that's literally all that happened. Yeah.
I do.
So shout out to All Office.
Yeah.
South Africa.
Yeah.
And again, I'm mentioning them because A, they're the only people who bring in Herman Miller into South Africa. And B, their customer service was above and beyond. I mean, they basically gave me like a 10,000 Rand upgrade for free. So I'm definitely not complaining.
Exactly. It was a nice upgrade.
It was awesome. So moving on from the COSM review, which is an excellent chair, by the way, and I highly, highly recommend it. Do watch the video for more information. Edward has, as always, been playing new games.
Yeah. So within this week, on Monday, my review dropped for Destroy All Humans. We alluded to it last week. And yeah, again, it's a port of the original game. I think it came out 15 years ago or something. I don't recall now. I never played it.
Yes, a very long time ago.
Yeah, very, very long.
You are right. Almost 2 decades, actually.
So it's a decent game. It's a product of its time, though. You can tell it's just a remake of an old game. So there is that. On a better note, though, I played Deadly Premonition.
Yes. So I've never played a Deadly Premonition game before, but I've heard about the game from Edward, and it sounds fascinating. So just give us a very brief overview of the first one and why you enjoyed the second one so much.
Okay, so basically, Deadly Premonition, the first game boils down to a standard murder mystery. You are Detective Agent York, and it's up to you to get to the bottom of these weird killings killings that's been happening, where young women are tied up to posts or trees, and they have red seeds in their mouths, and their tongues are usually cut out. And it's
Jeez.
it's very dark game, but it's also super wacky and light-hearted at the same time.
So that's the thing that I keep hearing. I keep hearing how it goes against the norms of what a horror or detective game is supposed to be about.
It's, if you could think of the weirdest anime you've ever seen, Deadly Premonition would be the embodiment of that. It's so weird. It's the game that put, is it a bug or a feature, up there,
but not really the Bethesda way.
Not
as in
the Bethesda
these are
way.
like legitimately.
Yeah, like there's this one scene I remember very vividly in the first game, that you sit across the table from an old lady in the hotel you're staying at, and she can't hear you because she's old. And so Agent York needs to scream everything at her. And as he becomes louder, the music also becomes louder. Now, no one knows if that's just a bug or if it's done on purpose.
That sounds intentional. That kind of sounds like... So I've been playing a lot of The Last of Us 2. And as we mentioned a couple of episodes ago... it's our highest rated game ever on Vamers, and Edward thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I'm making my way through it so that we can eventually speak about it. And it also has audio, contextual audio, whereby, if there are enemies around, you can actually hear the change. And when they are defeated, it changes again, so It's pretty cool. Okay, so that was number one. Yeah. So why Deadly Premonition 2?
So Deadly Premonition 2 is a prequel and a sequel of the first game. It takes place in 2005 and 2019. And it's, again, as Agent York. In 2005, you go back to, or not back, but you go to a little town called Lacaire. I've heard it multiple ways in the game. And it's all about getting down to the bottom of the murder of this huge family in the town, who basically monopolized everything. So, as you can tell, the people don't really like this family, so the motive is there. And it's all about getting to the bottom of this and how it eventually relates into these red seed murders from the first game, because obviously it's a prequel.
Okay. But it's a prequel / sequel, right?
So
it's a weird
So
mix.
the sequel bit, you play as Agent Elia Davis, who thinks that it's super weird that Agent York always manages to capture all these previous murderers and close all these cases so easily or so well, I guess.
So she thinks he might be involved.
Yes. The game starts where you interrogate Agent York, thinking that he was like the prime suspect of all these cases that he's closed, and eventually it evolves into a whole like twist. And I almost spoiled the game. The game.
Look, is it worth playing?
Yes. The thing is, though, it's not for everyone. It's super campy.
Well, look, we will link to Edward's full review, so you can go and read all of his thoughts and then make a determination of whether you'd like to play it or not. I understand it's exclusive to Nintendo Switch.
For now, at least. The bit of research that I could do, it seems like it's a timed exclusive, but resources are scarce. Okay. So
at the moment. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So those are the video games that we've been reviewing for Vamers. I'm actually currently working on a review for a new TV series called A Brave New World. I'll just give you guys a very quick overview, and we'll link to the review once done. But essentially, the TV show has been receiving a lot of criticism online for not being close enough to Aldous Huxley's book of the same name. Now, I am a review person, as in a review score person. I see a score and it'll sometimes influence whether or not I give something a chance. But I saw this and I saw a lot of the reviews actually talking about how it wasn't like the book. And I'm like, to an extent I agree. But at the same time, you shouldn't totally, tarnish something's reputation just because it doesn't live up to the expectation set by something else, because it is very, very difficult to do book to movie or TV translations. Sometimes they work exceptionally well, other times not so much. So I did a little bit more reading, and it turns out that A Brave New World is not meant to be a direct adaptation. It's actually just like an inspired by in many respects. So I thought, okay, well, let's have a look. And I'll just explain a little bit about what it's about. So it takes place in the far future. It's like a dystopian future whereby, sorry, not a dystopian, a utopian future. Yeah, there's a difference because dystopia implies like in a world scenario. well, okay. I won't try and I won't spoil it. Okay, so it's technically a utopia where everybody has a place in society, and they are given Greek alphabet characters to determine what their roles are. So you get alphas, betas, gammas, deltas, and epsilons. Epsilons are like I know it's going to sound terrible, but the trash of society.
Like
that's
the
how
worst
they regard
of the
it,
worst.
They're not the worst in terms of anger or destitution, but they do all the jobs nobody wants, like sanitation and cleanup and stuff like that. Whereas the alphas now at the top of the food chain, whatever they say has to go, and if you are below them, you have to listen to them, because if you don't, then you might be sent for reconditioning, which is a process that makes you act your level.
That sounds
so. It's a really fascinating science fiction premise because there are so many layers to what the show is trying to showcase, and in my review, I'm trying to break them down, and it's proving to be a little bit of a difficult task. But essentially, it's just the crux of it is how no system is ever perfect, and there will always be not a flaw, but there'll always be something to break down the perfection. And it's all about how this seemingly perfect society is anything but, and how the imperfections cause it to be not literally broken down, but to become perfect in a different way. It's super interesting. I won't talk too much about it, but we will link to the review, and you can check it out. It's currently available on the USA Peacock network. I'm not entirely sure when it will be available locally and on which streaming platform locally, but once we have that information, we'll let you know.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now, in terms of previews, because like we like doing reviews and previews. It's like a new thing now when we start off episodes. I've also been watching The Great, which is all about Catherine the Great. It is exceptional and incredibly irreverent, and I will have a full review for you guys within the next week because I've almost finished the first season, but it is very, very good.
Yeah.
And Edward, I know you're looking forward to Lovecraft Country.
I am really looking forward to it. So we got release screeners for it, so
which we are very lucky to often get.
Yes. So I'm currently in the process of reviewing Lovecraft Country, and it's amazing. As you know, I love all things Lovecraft, and this isn't quite super Lovecraftian in the sense of that, like that game that released earlier, Sunken City or something, but it's still very, very much based in the mythos of Lovecraftian lore and myth, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's still very, very good. It's made by Jordan Peele, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think he's a producer, so we all know it should be up there at the very least.
Wow. So we've spoken about some good stuff, right? So A Brave New World should be good. The Great is good. Lovecraft Country, we hope will be good. And your review will come out within a week, right? And then we'll actually speak about it in depth next week, I think.
Yes.
But of course, you have to compliment the excellent with the not so excellent.
The not so excellent. I might use that in my review, actually. So what Hans is alluding to
exactly
are two movies that I found recently called Velocipastor and
oh my gosh, I just
The Guardians.
Okay, hold. But look, okay. Before Edward tells you about these, just Velocipastor. I'm sorry, Edward, I'm taking this because I have to speak about it.
Go ahead.
So y'all know my love for dinosaurs. Okay, Jurassic Park fanatic. We spoke about Death Grounds, the game, which I'm really looking forward to. Now there's another game which I'll speak about in another episode, which I'm also very much looking forward to. When Edward brought this to my attention, I was like, I'm never going to watch this crap because it looks terrible. But I'm so intrigued because the blurb for the movie is that there's this pastor who turns into a velociraptor in order to combat crime. And I'm just like, that is the most insane premise, but I kind of really want to know if it's good or not. Well, it's bad. But Edward has a penchant for, as I call them, LBCs, which is low budget crap films. But you know what? Everything can't always be good. And we got to make time for the less than excellent. And this is what Edward's doing. And I'm very, very, very curious to read his reviews when he's done.
Yeah.
Hey, Edward.
The thing is that I tend to like super... or rather, I tend to like movies that no one else does.
You like campy stuff.
I
like
do.
Stuff
I love
like,
the campy stuff.
You can just leave it on and it doesn't really have to make much sense. And it's just like Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I don't want to say brain dead films, but what I mean by that is that you can put them on and watch TikTok at the same time. You're not really going to miss anything.
Yeah. Sometimes I try a bit too hard, but most of the time I've noticed, at least, that some of these movies are gems. And
okay, now before I interrupted you, you were talking about The Guardians. Just tell everybody quickly about what that's about.
So basically, one of these gems I hope will be is Guardians, and it basically tells the story of Russian superheroes created in the Cold War. Now,
Yal, it's the Russian Avengers.
It is.
You heard it here first.
Listen, the bit I've seen of this, now I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm in the process of reviewing it. It's on my watch list.
Well, I've skimmed through it.
It looks phenomenal CGI-wise. It really does.
Look, okay, there is something to be said for the fact that the CGI is decent, but like the little bit that I saw, I'm just like, WTF. Yeah. What were they thinking?
So, and the thing is, the movie comes in an English dub and the original Russian dub. Now, I'm obviously going to watch it in Russian with English subtitles.
Of course. The only way. Oh, but listen, you're studying Russian.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I will obviously do a little bit in my review about the English dub, just to tell everyone who prefers dubs over subs what it's all like. Yeah, and look forward to that.
Okay. Well, since we're still on the topic of movies and eventually Edward's reviews, I just want to shout out to my bro Harry Potter. Happy birthday!
You're a wizard, Harry.
It's literally Harry's birthday today because he was born in I think it was in 1981, but 31st of July.
I thought it was 85.
No. We're not the same age. I know he's older than me.
You know more than I do. So
okay, so it's actually 1980, which would make him. Oh, it makes him 40. Happy 40th birthday, Harry Potter!
Yeah.
Now, with Harry Potter on the mind, we should all be celebrating. So we're going to link below to my favorite Butterbeer recipe. Mm-hmm. Yes, I concocted one many years ago, and it is still delicious even today. And if you do make it, our listeners, please let me know what you think. I haven't made it in a very long time, but I'm thinking maybe I should. Maybe this weekend.
Yeah, maybe
will be
maybe do an Insta post about you making Butterbeer.
Yeah,
because those who don't
either
know,
way, it's really delicious. It's really delicious, and happy birthday, Harry!
Yes.
Despite what's going on in the world right now and what your creator is saying, happy birthday and Butterbeer. Cheers to you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this was a really long catch up. So now on to the content. Thank goodness for timestamps.
Yeah. We'll all have that at least.
Edward, there was something really fascinating to do with Minecraft.
Yeah. So obviously Minecraft is home to all things wonderful, all these wonderful creations, like
all things Minecraftian.
I guess.
That's a new word.
Yeah. like a few years ago when the church burned down. I forgot the name now. I'm sad that I did, but
you mean the not Arc de Triomphe? That's not the right.
No, the
thing.
other one.
Yes,
the other French church.
Notre Dame.
There we go. The Notre Dame.
There we go.
So when that burned down, people recreated it in Minecraft, like very accurately.
That's fascinating. Oh, that's brilliant.
And now recently, people have learned how to install operating systems in Minecraft.
Listen, this is just
How?
How is this? Yes. How is this even possible? I mean, I know you can do incredible things in Minecraft.
Yeah.
I know you can make working machines, and people have actually built working computers, and by that I mean they put the blocks in certain ways
like
where it actually
with the
processes
redstone.
data and information. Yes, but to actually run an operating system, that is some next level stuff.
It's
okay.
Like, I don't know how it works, but apparently it's a mod called VirtualBox, which runs off of another mod called
Of course it
Virtual
does.
Machine or Virtual Computer Machine.
Okay. So hold up. So these people are using the world of Minecraft to actually run VM software.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And
that is amazing. I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, now we do. So apparently via this software, or well, rather via this mod in Minecraft, you can install any ISO file, preferably ones that you own, because that's the correct way of doing it.
Legalities.
Yes. Such as Windows 95. That's the only one I've seen demoed. I haven't seen any newer Windows operating systems.
But I mean, just think about that for a second. There's this creative game that you can now use a mod that creates a virtual machine to run a full-blown version of an almost 2-decade-old operating system on a machine that doesn't exist because it's all in a virtual. I don't know. It's blowing my mind.
So
that is amazing.
Basically, how it works is this mod creates a hard drive in Minecraft, which allows you to install operating systems onto it, and because of all this stuff has been happening, and people have been experimenting a bit, and guess what they managed to do?
What?
They ran Doom on it.
Oh, of course they did.
Of course they did.
Of course. Doom is like on everything. I mean, didn't they get it to run on the MacBook Pro Touch Bar?
They did.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah,
wow.
That's the thing. If you can run Doom, you've got a stable virtual machine going.
So they created these computers, put virtual machines in them, all within Minecraft, and then ran Doom on the virtual computer.
Yes, in Minecraft.
That is wow. Jeez, look, we'll link to the article below. That is wow.
Yeah,
that is blowing my mind.
Personally,
that is just incredible.
Exactly. Like, I'm not a big Minecraft player. I do the occasional thing here and there in the game on the Windows 10 version and on the iOS version, but this is next level, and it's super cool. It's amazing.
Okay, well, I mean, look, I know I'm not a huge Minecraft fan. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it, and why people enjoy the creativity and that. And one of my close family relatives, he actually spends a lot of time in Minecraft, and there was a time where I thought that maybe it was because it's a means, it's a creative outlet, but at the same time, if you're a bit of a loner and you feel the need to do something. It's a really great outlet. Now, the reason why I'm trying very hard to do a segue here is that what does it mean to be alone? Truly alone. Well, over the last week or so, I discovered there is actually a place on Earth that is so remote that you are actually closer to the astronauts on the International Space Station than you are to anyone else on Earth.
That's weird.
It is mind-blowing. So I spoke a little bit of thalassophobia in last week's episode about how, deep, dark spaces in the ocean sort of, make me feel like there's something there that could hurt me or whatever. So this is literally that, but in terms of being completely isolated from anyone else on Earth. And it's called Point Nemo. You can actually look it up if you do Google it, but we'll obviously put resources below. And it's the furthest place from any piece of land on the Earth. And as I mentioned before, you're closer to the International Space Station than you are to anybody else, which is a very sobering thought. because we all know that the International Space Station is hundreds of kilometers above us in the, I think the stratosphere, or it's even higher than that.
I don't know.
So, yeah, it's. What would you do, Edward? What would you do if you? I mean, you're so
I'd
far
go
away
crazy
from anyone, anything, or land. I mean, you'd obviously be in a ship or something because there's no other way to get there.
Like,
you know.
My question is it on surface level the furthest, or deep down below the furthest?
No. So my understanding is it's surface
so
level.
Which means
they haven't determined, as far as I understand, how deep Point Nemo is, but it's not as deep as the Mariana Trench, which we all know is the deepest point on Earth.
That means if you go deeper, if you're on Point Nemo and you go deeper,
and you go down, then
you're even further away from anything. If I understand
well, then you're even further away from the people in space.
Well,
right?
from everything, I guess.
Jeez,
that's weird and scary.
I don't want to think about it. That's very. I mean, just to be that kind of isolation is next level. Like I know a lot of us have been dealing with isolation in lockdown, but this is something else. This is literally in the middle of nowhere. Like
if
zero.
I were an evil villain, that's where my lair would be.
Ooh, yes. Oh, I like the way you think. And you'd obviously be under the water, right?
Like just below the surface. So if someone swims underneath, they won't find me.
Rather, your base would be as elusive as the mating ritual of eels.
Yes. That's...
So... our next talking point is it's kind of related. So we've just spoken about Point Nemo, which is this place in the middle of literally nowhere, and how you're closer to astronauts than you are to people on land. Well, to complement this, there was another super interesting thing we found this week, and it has to do with eels and how they mate. And the thing is, hold on, this just listen to this for a second. Nobody knows how eels mate.
Yeah, like
nobody,
or at least we have ideas
in all of science. Like, I mean, how is this possible? How does no one know? And it's the most incredible thing. And Edward and I are going to actually talk about this now.
So essentially, years ago, many years ago, centuries ago, Aristotle, the great philosopher, he just alluded to the fact that eels just appeared one day. That they are the one species on Earth that doesn't have an origin, an evolutionary origin. Now, obviously, that's not true. As science have proved, we've all evolved from something. But a Danish biologist by the name of Johannes Schmidt, it's Johannes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing correctly.
Oh, but of course you're saying it right. You're Afrikaans.
But he was Danish.
Johannes Schmidt.
I'm not Danish.
Yes, but we come from the Danish,
I guess.
man.
Anyway, I'm just always scared I'm insulting people.
The Dutch, Danish. No, you're good.
Johannes Schmidt, he spent like a quarter of his life studying.
Oh, there you go. There's that quarter
exactly.
life crisis.
Yeah, there we go. 25 years of his life seeking more information about the mysterious thing that is the fact that eels just tend to vanish and reappear every so often. Now, what essentially happened is Johannes Schmidt he went he studied. I don't know how to phrase this, but basically he studied the eels from the Caribbean all the way to the Sargassoan Sea. And
yes, so what they did is they actually they wanted to know what eels do, because they can't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, why do they vanish?
So the scientists started to track them.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yes, they managed to track certain eels to see where they go, and they saw that some of them actually travel along like the entire coast of Africa.
Yeah.
It's actually absolutely incredible how far they can go. However, the most perplexing thing about the story is that they've only been able to track them to a certain point, and then they disappear.
Then nothing.
And then nothing. So this okay, and it's not Point Nemo.
No, unfortunately.
It's this place that they call the Sargasso Sea.
Yes.
All right, or Sargasso Sea.
Yeah.
And they assume that this is the spawning site for eels.
Yes.
Because they still haven't been able to track them.
Yeah.
And because they haven't been able to track them, they still don't really know how they mate. And the assumptions are that before we get to that, something else that I have to mention is that every single eel on Earth is related.
Yes.
This blew my mind as well.
It's...
It turns out that, you get different eels in different parts of the world. Like you get like northern eels and southern eels and so on and so on. But they all share the same genetic ancestry. And so the assumption is that all the eels on Earth all go to one point where it is assumed they lay eggs and then they fertilize them. Now, the reason why I'm saying they is because eels have no sex.
Yep.
They're both. They're everything.
Yeah.
They're all in one.
It's like Godzilla.
So no one really knows. Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah,
guys.
It's weird.
Actually, it's fascinating you bring up Godzilla because what if Godzilla was just a mutated eel?
That would be scary. Like, because of
just like somehow he comes in touch with radiation.
Yeah.
This eel at the breeding ground, and boom, there's your Godzilla.
Yeah, like imagine
because nobody knows how.
I'm getting weird images in my head now, but imagine like Pacific Rim and the Kaiju.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we all know Godzilla is a Kaiju. Same universe. It just means big monster. Is what Kaiju means, and I'm just imagining all these eels. Even old eels, even adult eels for us are actually Kaiju, like larvae. Imagine that.
Well, I mean, no, but like, what if though? Because I mean, I don't know. It blows my mind that we have these creatures that we have no idea how they mate because they've never been able to get them to mate in captivity.
Exactly.
So every time you eat eels now on your sushi, just know you're eating a creature that no one knows how they reproduce. Yeah. And they're all related.
Well,
okay. So,
on that note, though, recent studies have proven almost successful in getting to the bottom of this entire mystery.
How so?
So basically, in 2014, they started developing this new tracking system whereby they can track eels by attaching satellite tags to them. I'm not sure how a satellite tag works, but it looks like a little floaty device on the eel's back.
You do know that still didn't result in anything.
No, yes. But they did get somewhere, though. They managed to track the seal all the way to the Sargasso, where it literally vanished. And
But hold on.
Yeah.
You have to add to that.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who might not know, and this again, might blow your mind. The Sargasso Sea that Edward is talking about is by the Bermuda Triangle.
There we go. So basically, the track just appeared on top of the water floating, and the seal vanished. Oh, sorry, the eel vanished.
And just get this now. We're speaking about these creatures that no one knows how they breed.
Yeah.
They are all related around the world. They consistently swim from Europe, Africa, Asia, everywhere, to a place near the Bermuda Triangle to breed, and no one knows exactly where or how. Just let that sink in for a little bit.
And even tracking fails. That's fascinating. That's
wow. So actually, I'm curious to know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
What do you all think? Could they be kaiju, as Edward mentioned? Are they something else? Are they maybe the true aliens of this planet? Hey? I mean, we know the Pentagon has admitted now officially that the flying saucers that we spoke about, I think it was like episode 1 or 2, are literally not man-made. Yeah. They actually have now said so.
They are extraordinary objects, which is... Oh.
Yes. So I wonder... So now this leads me to the military, naturally. And, if you think about Bermuda Triangle, how many things have gone missing there and so on and so forth. And I actually did read a little bit about it the other day, and it turns out it really isn't as fascinating as we all think it is. But the eels are giving me pause. All right? Now, with that in mind, and in terms of, militaristic equipment and things that we have, I'm curious, Edward, what does military grade mean to you? So, like when you see articles and stuff, or rather product, and they're like, oh, military grade.
Well,
what does that say to you?
At least up until now, I've been fed
up until
the idea.
Gettle episode 25.
Yeah. I've been fed the idea that military grade means like top tier quality.
Yes.
Like you'll get graphics cards with military grade backplates, and you'll get knives and bow shafts with military grade material.
So yeah, your assumption is accurate. I mean, what else would they be implying? I mean, when you look at what people are using in the military, their equipment is often far above what everybody else has. So you would assume a military grade bulletproof vest is going to protect you from a variety of bullets that a peasant would, right? Yeah, right. Well, everybody, we have some news for you. Military grade is nothing but a marketing term.
Naturally. Why would I ever think different?
So, it does mean something. It does mean something, but it doesn't mean what we've all been led to believe. So, military grade basically just means meeting the bare requirements for durability while costing the absolute least to manufacture.
For the military.
Yes. So basically it's like saying, okay, cool, here is this bulletproof vest. How cheap can you make it to literally stop the minimal amount of bullets?
Wow.
That is what military grade means.
Jeez. So basically all these companies have lied to us.
Yes. You're right. You're not wrong.
Gosh.
Okay.
But that means there are multiple grades within the military grade, I suppose. I assume because
rather it's that military grade is the bare minimum. So you can only go up from a product that has been built to military grade, which basically just means it must have the minimum durability while costing as cheap as possible. So now, when you go and get that military grade graphics card, which is already so bloody expensive, they're basically saying they're giving you the lowest cost but strongest item that they could manufacture. So
Made in
that
China.
markup is not real. Okay.
Wow. Well, why would we ever think different? Now, to be honest.
Well, I mean, now we know. Now we're informed.
And now you're informed too.
Yes, and I'm curious, did you all believe the same thing that we did? Because I mean, when I thought of military grade, just like what Edward said now, you think that it's better than normal. You actually would opt psychologically to go for a military grade item than something else.
Exactly.
Well,
wow.
Now you know better. Just buy the cheap knockoff. Same thing.
The more you know.
So now there was something else that I was going to talk about, but I think we're going to maybe push it to another time. And so I'm going to move on to voices. So earlier this week, I came across a YouTuber, which actually prompted me to, then deep dive further into what a deep voice means. And so I came across this YouTuber and I was listening to the video and I thought to myself, just by listening to his voice, I now have a perception of what I think he looks like. And his voice was deep. Like, if any of you have heard of Markiplier or have listened to his voice, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know that like it's deep, it's manly, it's hot, like it's beautiful. I mean, I know it's weird to say that, but really, he's got a voice that like you want to let him narrate you, like Morgan Freeman, how instantly identifiable his voice is. So I was listening to this YouTuber and I was like, okay, he sounds, tall. He sounds handsome. He sounds well built. I know this sounds strange, but hold on, just bear with me. We're getting to the crux of the matter. So I went and did some searching, and he is a scrawny little ginger man.
He looks super Irish.
Look. He this is not a criticism to him because this is gonna lead me into what we're talking about in terms of perception and that. So after that, I was like, well, that's very interesting. Are there any other studies that look into what voices do to people and the perceptions they create? And there is. It's actually called the Barry White effect.
Which is a weird name.
No, it's perfect. If anyone who's familiar with Barry White's voice will completely understand why it's called the Barry White effect, because he is renowned for having this voice that, and not to get into stereotypes, but would make ladies' panties drop.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I came across a fascinating article and video, which obviously we'll link below. And it just has to do with what changes in your voice can do to you and how people infer different things from you. And long story short, it has to do with deep voices. So, in the video that I was talking about initially, he had a deep voice and I saw what he looked like and I was like, there's actually a disconnect there. And I was like, but why did I think that? Well, this is what the Barry White effect does. It makes you perceive things about someone because they have a deep voice. Now, to an extent, this does relate a little bit to male stereotypes. Yeah. Because obviously a stereotype implies, you be a manly man, you've got to be hairy, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is where this Barry White effect comes in. And to give it some context, it has to do with the hormone testosterone. So obviously during puberty, when the hormone starts taking effect in men, more often than not, your voice will drop by at least 1 octave.
Making it
And
deeper.
then, of course, your Adam's apple and so on and so forth. Now, when people have done research into this, they've found, specifically towards ladies, ladies prefer men with deeper voices because allegedly deeper voices are sexier.
Well,
hence the Barry White.
Allegedly.
Well,
we say allegedly.
allegedly. Now, what was interesting about this is the more that I read into it and the more that I learned, when I was making assumptions about this person that I was listening to, it turns out that is actually a very normal and human thing to do. And that's what the Barry White effect is. It's whereby people will start associating physical characteristics to a disembodied, deep voice. Things like they assume the person is stronger and they're taller and they're bigger and they're more attractive. And in terms of male stereotypes, they're hairier and they're like manly man, strong jawlines, stuff like that. What's interesting, though, is that there's actually no correlation between size and how deep your voice is. So you could get somebody like me, who's 6'4", and I don't believe I have a particularly deep voice.
No.
Who is 6'4", and I don't have one. But whereas you could maybe get somebody who's like 5'2", and they sound like a baritone. When they speak, the table vibrates. Yeah. And it was just interesting. And the more you look into that, if you look at the evolutionary roles, it turns out that there is science behind it, and that is that when your voice breaks, courtesy of testosterone in the body, it now implies that you can have children. You can use your seed to fertilize a seed and have children.
That's cool.
That's technically what a deeper voice implies. So therefore, it's very much a biological, evolutionary, human standpoint. Yeah. All right. Now, there's more to this though. So in addition to the Barry White effect being all of those things, there is also something else called the peak shift effect. And this is whereby, as humans, and this will make a lot of sense, is we often gravitate to the extremes when it comes to human nature. So like somebody with a super deep voice now is more appealing than somebody with a high-pitched voice. Do you know what I mean? Or you'll like somebody with a high-pitched voice versus somebody with a low-pitched voice. Do you get what I'm saying?
No in-between, really.
So for all of you average Joes in the middle, for shame.
Yeah, like...
No, look, it's just got to do with how humans are geared, which is why, that's actually why stereotypes exist. Yeah. Because, when you think of something like, let's take the archetypal female, right? She's got to be, slim-figured, nice bust, nice, buttocks. I know I'm being objective here, but just hear me out. So when you think of that, that is now only describing an extreme of available body types. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So this peak shift effect, therefore, comes into play when it comes to deep voices because it's an extreme. A deeper voice is an extreme, right? Now, after everything that I've said, this was very interesting. There was actually a 2011 study which completely contradicts the fact that a deep voice implies true fertility. The study found that people with deep voices actually have weaker sperm.
Oh wow!
Which is I know, right? It's not something you would contribute because after everything that I've spoken about now, and when you hear somebody talking deep
like
into
this.
you and whispering sweet nothings, baby,
Yeah.
you're like, whoo, like, fertile, And it just so happens that they actually aren't as fertile as somebody who might have a high-pitched voice like me. Like
A high-pitched voice like this.
High-pitched voice. Yeah. So when I looked at all of this, I came across something else called deep voice privilege. And I found some studies which looked at men in the workplace, in particular CEOs of companies, and how people with deeper voices were actually paid more and higher up the hierarchical ladder. What? Of course, it's very much... right? Can you believe it? It's very much a sexist study in my opinion, because I was curious to know if maybe ladies with female voices are also... promoted more than males. Unfortunately, the study only showed for men, and I was like, well, of course, that's stupid. Yeah. Anyway, so I do think there is some, possibility for future research into all voices from both sexes to determine whether or not it actually makes a difference.
That's fascinating. Something to look into.
Well, do you know what does make your your voice deep?
What?
Masks, Edward.
Okay.
Everybody, this is Edward slowly catching to grips with the segue.
In my mind, I was just like, what would make your voice deeper?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Anyway, Edward, please move on.
So this guy called Ben Heck on YouTube, he is an amazing, also inventor of things, which is phenomenal. All these people that just invent stuff.
Ben Heck is phenomenal. Yeah. He's one of the longest running people on YouTube in terms of crafting weird and wonderful and cool things from products that already exist, with his most popular items being the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, where he actually made them portable. Now, of course, that's not what we're talking about today.
So Ben Heck, he recently made an automated mask, very much in the style of Death Stranding, almost, with the automated headpiece, and it looks cyberpunk as all out. Cool. It looks phenomenal.
Well, I mean, how fascinating is this? Last week we had a robot barber, right? A robot hairdresser. Yep. Now this week we have automated masks. I'm all for this automated feature. Yep.
It's weird. It's just weird to see.
It's cool. It's a one button press, because we all know, and as we mentioned in last week's episode 24, y'all better be wearing masks, okay? We've spoken about this numerous times as to why it's one of the most effective means of combating the spread of not just coronavirus, but anything really. If you're not feeling well, you should mask up before you go out, all right? And it's just so cool to see how people are using innovative technologies like 3D printing at home to make innovative products like robot barbers or this.
Just imagine going to the shop and it's all open and you're in your car, and the moment you open your door, a thing triggers and it closes. That's amazing.
Well, I would still prefer having manual control, because people be
drunk. Yeah, I guess.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's why you need auto, because everyone just needs to force it close.
Yeah, but could you imagine like you're drinking like a coffee and it just decides to auto close, or like you or you're eating something. Anyway, I'm sure he's built sensors in and stuff. What we'll do is we will link below to his video. It is well worth looking at and watching, because who knows? Maybe auto masks are in a near future, given the new normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we are talking about coronavirus because it's a fact of life now. Something that was great about it. Now, people in America are currently fighting about amendment rights and how the mask goes against it and how they can't breathe. And we've just mentioned how it might make your voice deeper for that, super sexy feel. Well, what masks won't do really is keep you quiet. And that's just obvious, because, you've got to be able to breathe still. Now, with that in mind, something that was very, very, very interesting is how scientists have recorded the longest period of silence in human history because of lockdowns around the world.
That's cool. How, though?
So this is the interesting thing. So we all know that around the world, from the months of March through to May, and sometimes even further, everybody went into lockdown, basically everywhere. Yeah. Now, what is interesting, and something that I didn't know about, is how seismologists are able to determine ambient human noise from whether it's walking or talking or using vehicles and transportation, stuff like that, through seismographs. The technology that is used to measure earthquakes and movements of tectonic plates. Yeah. So there are apparently 300 of these stations around the world. And what ended up happening is that when the world started going into lockdown, scientists actually noticed a decrease in the ambient seismic noise on the planet.
That's cool.
Hey?
That's actually super, super cool.
Right? It's super interesting that humans are noisy. And it turns out that we're actually the third biggest source of seismic noise on the planet.
Third biggest?
Third biggest, yeah. Whereas, the other two are things like earthquakes and volcanoes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The tectonic plates, shifting.
That makes much more sense. I was like, what could it be?
What did you think? It was the kaiju.
Like kaiju,
Is it the eel kaiju that's coming
That's immediately where my head went.
Yes, because the scientists are keeping it quiet. Right?
Yeah, you never know.
We have aliens and now kaiju that make seismic noise. It's super fascinating,
super
and
cool.
I mean, it does make sense. I remember in the early days of lockdown how you'd go outside and you wouldn't hear anything, except for maybe the very, very, very odd police siren or ambulance, but it was dead quiet. It was actually one of the few times in recent memory where I've wished I had a drone so I could actually go and see what was happening. But I've seen stuff online on YouTube, and it's cities were shut
people
down.
flying drones
Dead
through
quiet.
New York and the Vatican, not the Vatican, just Italy as a whole. And
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
very eerie.
Well, do you know what is not quiet, Edward?
What?
A shotgun.
That's very true. I have no experience with a shotgun, but
Okay. Oh, what? I do. It's amazing.
I've never shot a shotgun.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe one day when we're allowed to do things like that again, we can go
And shoot a shotgun.
You've got to try it at least once in your life.
I mean, I've shot rifles and pistols, but yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm not an advocate for guns, but you feeling at least once is great.
Okay.
With shotguns on the mind, Edward, have you ever heard of the expression riding shotgun?
I have heard of it, yeah.
And what does it mean to you?
Riding in the passenger seat.
Okay, now for our listeners, before I actually answer what I'm about to say, I would like you all to think, what does riding shotgun mean to you?
Okay.
And it probably means what Edward said.
Yeah, we're all probably wrong, though, knowing by everything else we've said.
Well, some interesting news. I always thought that the expression was just some dumb American term from a movie.
Yeah.
Shotgun, you call shotgun for things kind of like how you call shotgun to sit in the passenger seat in the front of the car, because sitting in the front's better than the back. Well, it turns out that this is a legitimate expression from the 1800s Wild West in the United States.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a time when stagecoaches were a thing. And what would happen is they would often have a person assigned to sit with the driver who was armed in order to, prevent people from plundering whatever loot it is that they were transporting.
That's cool.
Right? So this term, riding shotgun, is technically what that implies.
That's cool. I'm sad now that Arthur Morgan never said that term in Red Dead. And I love that game.
That's true.
Like
what time period does it take place in?
The end of the Wild West. So I think it's about around the 20s, the 30s.
Okay, so just to elaborate a little bit further on this, although it sort of originated in the Wild West within the 1800s, it was only popularized in mainstream media from the 1920s, because only then was it used in cinema as a means of saying, oh, I'm going to ride shotgun, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
So, look, technically, the term, maybe they didn't say, do you want to ride shotgun?
Maybe it came from earlier.
But yes.
And the movies popularized it.
Yes, that's exactly it. So there we go. There we go, everybody.
That's
now
cool.
riding shotgun is a legitimate term. Sure, it's still very much American, but it actually means something. It's not
That's
just
cool.
like a 90s term for you get this first, or you get to ride in front of the car,
Yeah. That's
And now, of
cool.
course, we were speaking about shotguns, and we all know that shotguns are good at destroying
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah. Like,
I'm just going to lead into it because Edward's not catching it. So,
I'm sorry, I'm so bad. I'll get better.
So there was something else that was really cool. Well, actually not cool, but something interesting that I discovered. And that has to do with the fact that, actually, hold on. Before I mention it, I want to pose a question.
Mm-hmm.
Brands, fashion brands. Why do you think they have value? I'm asking you this, Edward, and if audience, for those of you who are listening, just think about this yourself and have an answer in mind.
Honestly, I think the reason why they have value in the first place, I don't know. But I think why they have value now is because it's social status. It's needed. It's wanted among like rich people.
There is actually a very cool economic process behind why certain brands are more valuable than others. Now, I didn't know about this. I wasn't aware of this at all. And it's actually incredibly wasteful. So, to cut a very long story short, in order for fashion brands to keep their goods, exclusive, as in, they're not freely available, the brands actually destroy their surplus product.
Why?
In order to
obviously.
To keep it exclusive.
But how would you come to that thinking in the first place, is what I mean. Like,
because so there is some rationale to it. Now, I personally don't agree with it because it's incredibly wasteful. You're using all of these resources to create these products only to destroy them in order to keep your brand valuable, because by making the products limited, it means that there's fewer of them and therefore they're more valuable. Kind of like anything that's limited edition in nature.
Yeah.
So it turns out that major companies now, we're talking about like Burberry, H&M, Nike, and there's quite a few more, all destroy their stuff when it's time for a new product to come out or a new product line. A great example is how H&M in 2017 has destroyed more than 60 tons of products since 2013.
Jeez. Wow.
Yes, it is a lot.
I mean,
of all the brands, H&M, like, please, H&M is rubbish.
Down there, yeah.
Concerned. Okay,
but what about Louis Vuitton?
Well, this is exactly it. So a lot of the bigger brands like Louis Vuitton and Baume & Mercier and Cartier and a lot of the French ones, which is very interesting because there's another French little factoid that I found out, but we'll speak about it just now. Mm-hmm. They all do it. And they do it in order to, A, prevent their products from being globally available to everybody, B, to stop scalpers from stealing product and then selling it for cheap. And then by doing that, it therefore keeps the value up. Because now, like, let's say they made 1,000 bags, right? But they only sold 300. Yeah. Then they destroyed the other 700. Then that means there are only 300 of those bags available in the world. Therefore, keeping the price inflated.
And that's how they still make money out of it.
It's also how they increase value. Because think about it like this. You've bought a bag, right?
Yeah.
But now, if you didn't buy one, they're no longer available ever again. So therefore, that becomes like a collector's item. It goes up in price because it's exclusive now.
And that's why
it's like it's artificial exclusivity in a weird way.
That's why Gucci bags from the from the 80s are worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes. Precisely. Now, the reason why I mentioned the whole French thing earlier is because because I love these French companies, because French and fashion and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But there's actually a law in France that prohibits food companies like restaurants and supermarkets from throwing away food.
Oh, yeah, I've
which
heard
I
about
really,
that.
really like.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to. It's against the law. They are forced to donate it, which I think is fantastic.
That's cool.
In America, you guys can learn from that because
Everyone
there's no
can.
point in wasting.
It's
Everybody can.
great.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So that kind of leads us on to the next one, which has got to do with, and Edward will speak about this.
Yeah.
But we're talking about waste now,
Yes.
right? And you have to wonder to yourself, why do people waste? Well, not everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's actually very clear by just looking at the news that people think differently. Now, you can't say that somebody thinks the wrong way because then that just shows your own biases. But I mean, of course, there are certain things where you can be like, no, that's just
wrong.
vehemently wrong. Yeah, of course. Anyway, if you've ever been interested in seeing what people who don't believe in what you believe in, and of course we're talking about the wrong things to believe in.
Yes, like anti-vaccine
yes, exactly.
climate denying.
We have a resource for that.
Yeah, it's called TheirTube, and it's actually fascinating. So if you go to this website, TheirTube,
which we'll always link below in the show notes,
and it's literally just that. If you go there, you are met with a little animation with a few buttons of cute little drawn figurines, and with which are labeled like some liberal, conservative, prepper, and even climate denier. And if you click on those, that you literally are shown what someone who would browse YouTube, who are, let's say, a conservative, would always use, or not always, that's the wrong term, but who would usually, the kinds of content YouTube would
it gives you an idea of what they would watch. Yes. So for a lot of people, and I know that my parents don't understand this, every network, whether social or not, and we're talking about even like the Netflixes and the YouTubes and stuff like that, they all have an algorithm that is geared towards showing you what you want to see.
Yes.
So I'm sure anybody who's gone down some rabbit hole on YouTube will find that a couple of days later, they'll be recommended more of that kind of stuff, especially if you ended up watching the whole video through.
Yep.
So what ends up happening, and this is, I've shared this sentiment with Edward before, is I feel that, social networks and providers are very much to blame for what's going on in the world today, because they're actually perpetuating those trains of thought, whereby, let's say you get an anti-vaxxer, right? And they're absolutely convinced that vaccines cause autism and it's the mark of the devil and Bill Gates is going to be the Antichrist, etc., etc., etc. These are all legit things, okay? Not legit, I just mean that this is what these people believe.
Yeah, that's what
now,
they Google.
what YouTube will do is, it'll consistently show you that narrative.
Yeah.
It will consistently give you more and more and more content like that to consume because you're consuming it.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean it's accurate or right or good. So yeah, it's this link is fascinating because it shows you how the other half think.
Yeah.
The people that we as self-confessed rational thinking people will look at and be like, you're dumb. What are you thinking?
Exactly. Like if
well, this is it. This gives you an idea.
See, an easy solution for this would obviously to be if YouTube or Google knows that you're Googling stuff about anti-climate change, maybe the good solution would be to, instead of recommending more of this content, to rather recommend content that questions content that teaches you.
No, that will drive people away. Think about it.
See, but that's why they're encouraging it.
YouTube doesn't care. YouTube is about the money. They're about showing as many ads as possible and then making money from that. Now, they could do the Facebook route where there's like a little note that says, be wary of this content. And this content might not be, entirely accurate. Just take note. They could do that, But then again, now there's so much on YouTube, that would mean that every single piece of uploaded video would have to be monitored by a real person. And I just don't think they have the resources for that, to be perfectly honest.
That's true.
I mean, there's like billions of minutes uploaded a day or something like that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to your favorite part of Gettle. Hey, Edward.
Yeah. Well, we have.
Well,
Like, we're not even playing a
Actually-
jingle, as you've noticed.
all I'm gonna say is Edward dropped the ball for you this episode. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
we don't really have good news regarding NSFW stuff. And unfortunately, you have to wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
I'll come
When-
back strong, I promise.
Well, is that a commitment? Are you committing?
Yeah, I'll commit. I'll commit to that.
Okay. Did
I'll
you all hear
find
that,
the most
everybody?
ARBS NSFW stuff for you next
Okay,
week.
cool. So episode 26, Edward's going to make up for the fact that he didn't find anything for episode 25.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And there we go, everybody. We've reached the end of episode 25.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. It wasn't as much of a train wreck as we initially thought it might be, especially after last week's episode. Of course, I still need to edit this, so who knows? If it didn't work out as planned, you'll know in episode 26.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We do love the feedback that we always hear from all of you, and our numbers are really good.
Yeah.
And just thank you. Thank you for the support. It's just that's all that we can say, I guess.
It's nice to see. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So until 26, I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Yourself as well, Edward.
Yeah.
And
Same.
cheer everybody. Ciao.
Bye.